All right. Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Karibuni sana. Hope you're well. Just in time for today's daily analysis session. Of course, with the Afriforex team. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good time on the chats yesterday, and hopefully you're also having a good morning. And of course, in everything else that you're doing, also off the charts. But we're really glad that you could join us. John Bogo is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit. So, like I always say, it's not a one-man show. So we do have the rest of the team here. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them, of course, on the chat box, and the team will definitely get back to you. But I will also be looking at the questions, of course, also in the chat box, but towards the very tail end of this session. But you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can ask, even as the session does end up progressing on. So we're going to jump straight into it. So we'll start off by looking at the watch list. That's where we always begin. So you can't see the watch list right there. And you can't see Wednesday, the 22nd of January. That's what we're going to be watching out for. Can't see in comparison to what we did have yesterday. So you can see a couple of changes, the New Zealand dollar and the Japanese yen joining the sell side of things, the Great British Pound, the Canadian dollar switching sides and coming into the buy side. So we'll have a look at the ones that we did have yesterday that unfortunately did not make it onto our watch list today, see what we can learn from them. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. You can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. Also illustrations of what possibly to end up expecting before we actually do jump in on any sell. So in the morning, price was here. Price came back up within this region here, but you can see that there was no reaction of the sellers. It was a very weak reaction. So you can see that the buyers still continued pushing up high, and unfortunately, there was really nothing to tell us to look for selling opportunities on that one. And of course, considering the fact that the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen are both on the same side, so unfortunately, we will not be looking to see whether we can get any trades in on that particular currency pair. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. You can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out, also an illustration of what possibly to end up expecting. So in the morning, price was somewhere within this region to around 9. Price came up, we're expecting maybe to see some sort of a reaction, which did end up happening. And you can see that the market did actually end up coming to the downside, some slight pullback coming in. But it's like the sellers were just not interested. So they showed up and then after that they disappeared, and you can see that the market just continued moving sideways. So of course, if we did get any trades in on this one, we did need to come out of them, maybe somewhere within this region here. But unfortunately, also not a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can trade, considering the fact that, the US dollar and the Japanese yen are both on the same side. So it could be a currency pair that could be giving us issues. So we will be walking away from it as well. So the next one, this is the euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities, buying opportunities rather. And you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was somewhere within here. We're expecting maybe some sort of a pullback coming in, maybe to look for the buys to go up. But you can see that the market just pulled around within this region. It's only much later on that the market came down back within this area. We're expecting that. But there's a possibility we might not get the market lifting to the upside. So there could be a bit of a clash that could be going on. So we will be walking away from this one. So unfortunately, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can trade today. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one yesterday, trying to see whether we could have gotten sells, clearly see the three areas that I had mapped out. Also an illustration of what to expect. Price came back in within here. And you can see that the buyers went up, sellers came down. But if you look at how the sellers actually came down within this region, you can't quite say that those are the big sellers within here. So they showed up. Then after that, they slowed down. The buyers did also slow down, but it's only much later on that the market came to the downside. Of course, expecting maybe to see whether we could have gotten some proper pullbacks coming back in within here to possibly end up looking for some good selling opportunities. But unfortunately, you can't see that today. The market has gone to the upside quite strongly. Also possibly something to do with some New Zealand dollar news events that did come out earlier today. So unfortunately, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can trade today. So the next currency pair is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So in the morning, price was here. I did point out that there was a possibility price was just going to spike lower than this, and you can definitely see that it did that, spiked just lower, because of course a lot of guys were definitely trying to see whether they could get in on the buy and possibly put their stops within this region. And like I pointed out, we've been caught out on such kind of scenarios before, time and time again, until we've technically almost known what to expect, especially when the market comes down aggressively on the next attempt. Most probably it will spike lower. So remember, I pointed out that it might just come in just slightly lower than that, but if it does end up coming back into the upside, you could possibly end up looking for the buys. And it did that. The only problem with this one is the fact that price didn't quite come back in within here. I was actually timing a buy somewhere within this region here once I saw the buyers come up. But unfortunately, it seems that this price somewhere within here was good enough, and you can see that off that region, the buyers did really push to the upside. So for this one, the buyers technically did end up working out. Unfortunately, I couldn't get in on it, but maybe some of you did. We'll end up looking at some screenshots to see what happened, but unfortunately, not really a currency pair we will be trying to trade today. So the next currency pair, the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten sells. You can clearly see the three areas and also some illustrations of what maybe I was expecting. Unfortunately, you can't see that the price did bounce off here. We knew that this was a buyer's region, and we're expecting maybe price to come back in within this area here. And you can't see that price came back in within there, but unfortunately, you can't see that the sellers were really struggling to push off this region to the downside. And you can't quite see a strong seller, in within this region here. And unfortunately, I couldn't jump in on any trades based on that. And you can't see that the buyers really pushed to the upside. In fact, the market just bounced off this region, and you can see that the buyers really pushed to the upside. The same buyers who had come in, also expecting them to come in a bit slower than this and possibly end up seeing a major reaction of the sellers, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So unfortunately there wasn't much right home on that one. So last but not least, we do have the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities as well. So you can see the three areas, also an illustration of what to expect. I had pointed out that there was a possibility you could find the market bouncing off this blue SNR right here, which was a minor level. You can see that the market really held within this area here. I mean, even if you did get the sales coming down, you still can't see that that region was giving issues. The market broke to the upside, bounced off here. You can't see that the buyers continued to push up higher. So seems like the Swiss franc, the big boys are not really interested in buying it yesterday, but we'll see what does end up happening today. So unfortunately for us on this one, also not a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can end up trading. So moving on into a couple of screenshots that we did end up getting. Can start off with this one from Annette. Annette, if you're here, if you're watching, but we're going to be watching later on. Shout out to you. So this is on the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So I can see that you got a buying opportunity on this one, somewhere within this region right here. So the buyers showed up, which was good. The market pulled back in within here. That was a good entry, stop loss, exactly where it should be. And I can't see that you're targeting higher up within this region, right? And I can't see that you've also set an alert, possibly wanting to manage some of your trade within this region, which is good. In terms of the problem area, this is exactly where you should be watching out for. So that is really good. So shout out to you, Annette, and of course, keep up the good work. We're happy to see your progress. So we also did get some screenshots from Dan Bickett as well. So shout out to you, Dan Bickett. So this is on the NAS 100. So I can see you got a bunch of selling opportunities high up within this region here, and of course stop losses, I think, for your trades within these regions right here. So hopefully, I'm just thinking maybe when the market came back in within here, that's where you got it. And once the market started coming down lower, your stop losses came in within these levels here. But I'm thinking on entry, they must have been higher. But this is also good. Definitely seems like regions where there are definitely sellers. And like we always say, buy with buyers, sell with sellers. So it's good to see that you're keeping up with that practice. So you also did get a buying opportunity. This is still also on the NAS 100. So this is on the 1 minute time frame. The previous one was on the 15. So this one was a scalp trade, a buy within here. I think when the market pulled back in within this area right here, you got the buy, stop loss already above your point of entry once the market started to move in your favor, which is good. Like we always say, it's always best to wait for the pullback. So you did wait for the pullback there. And at least it does seem like it did end up rewarding you. So shout out to you for that, Dan Pickett, and keep up the good work. So we also did get a screenshot from a good friend, Jack. who joins us all the way from the United States, I think in New Mexico, which is really good. Good to see that you're still killing it on the charts, even when you're them sites. So this is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So very good sell. So I can't see that you got the sell somewhere within there because the market was coming down, and I can't see that your stop loss is already below your point of entry, which is good. Take profit all the way down within here. I was also timing this trade. Fortunately, I didn't get it, and we'll have a look at it. But it's good to see that, Jack, you did make the most out of it. So this is really good. So shout out to you for that, Jack, and keep up the good work. So last but not least, we did get a screenshot from Peter. Peter, if you're here, shout out to you as well. So this is on, I think, the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Yeah, right at the top right there. So I can't see that you got a buying opportunity on this one. And I can't see that once the market started to move in your favor, and I'm thinking your take profit was high up there, can't see that your stop loss was already above your point of entry, which is good. Bit of a tricky situation in terms of how you got the entry. Maybe you looked at it on a smaller time frame, but it's good to see that once the market started to move in your favor, at least you did actually end up bringing in your stop loss above break even. So that's really good. So shout out to you for that, Peter. So shout out to Annette, Dan Pickett, Jack, Peter. Keep up the good work. Remember, guys, if you do want to send in your screenshots, feel free to do so. Us guys are more than happy to see what you guys are up to on the chat. So feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp. Our contact details should be there on the video description. So shifting gears and shifting matters into matters today. So you can't see the 22nd of January there. For the sake of guys who come in late, feel free to take a screenshot of that. That's what the game plan is going to be looking like today. So we're going to be starting off by mixing and matching up the euros versus everything on the sell, the Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar, and the Great British pound. And then we'll finish off with the indices and the commodities like we always do. So the first one off the line is the euro against the Australian dollar. So for this one, also a currency pair that we had yesterday, and we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities on this one. And you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was somewhere within here. And I pointed out that it wasn't really a good idea to look for the buys higher up within here. So it was best to possibly wait for the pullback to come in. Unfortunately, the pullback didn't come in all the way to within this region here. It seems like there was some sort of an SNR that's holding somewhere within this area here. But you can see that the buyers have really been attempting to push to the upside of this area, which means that they will possibly end up needing to end up getting better prices to possibly push the market to the downside, to the upside. Because you can see that the market went up here quite aggressively. But if you look at the reactions of the buyers after that, if you look at this compared to this, and also what's happening right now compared to the previous time, it seems that the big boys might not be fully in, and possibly they're waiting for a deeper pullback. Also, it could be an incitement. You know, lots of guys are definitely hitting the buys, and I'm sure very many people are stuck and they're wondering, why is it that the market is not moving? But of course, as the market continues to hold within that particular region, more and more people are definitely jumping in on the buys. So you can imagine the amount of money that's definitely accumulating, you know, within this region here. So the big boys might possibly end up pushing the market to the downside. Stop out quite a number of people. Many people start to look for the selling opportunities, and once that happens and the market comes back in maybe within this region, possibly we could find the market possibly taking off to the upside. So let's just wait and see. Of course, it's just pure speculation. It's nothing cast on stone. We're just trying to analyze and interpret what we can see, but also wait and see if we can get the market breaking to the upside. Remember this blue SNR that I had pointed out yesterday? I pointed out that the best time to possibly look for the buys high up there would be if the market can break above this region to the upside, come back in within this region. I think this buy somewhere within this region might give you lesser issues than actually attempting a buy within here. You could easily end up getting squeezed within this area, and it could end up becoming quite frustrating, and eventually you could even end up also getting stopped out. So just make sure that you do end up waiting for those two, but of course make sure that you do keep an eye out for this particular region here. You could find that during the London session you could be on the pullback, then during the US session, especially if price is somewhere within here or somewhere within this region at around 5:30, possibly you could find some really good buying opportunity. So just make sure that you watch out for that. So the next one, this is the euro against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. Can't really see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. and also in the illustration of what to expect. So I was expecting price to possibly spike lower than this, maybe come back up. It did do that because you can see that the market came lower, held within there. Definitely lots of breakout traders did end up getting caught up within that situation right there, and they started hitting sells. And that's the reason why we always point out you need to always wait for the hold, and to actually end up getting some proper confirmation, especially if the market attempts to hold to the upside but can't and comes back down, then at least you can look for the sells. So definitely you can see the market probed within that region, came back up, something similar to the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Unfortunately, couldn't get the market pulling back in within here. I was also timing a buy somewhere down here, but unfortunately the pullback just came back into within here, and I guess that price was good enough for the market to continue moving to the upside. So for this one, the levels are the same. The market is high up there. Either the market breaks to the upside, and if it does, then possibly we could get some conservative buying opportunities within there. But right now, considering the fact that it's holding just below a region of resistance, you never know if the London big boys could easily end up reacting. And if they do, that means that we could be on the pullback phase during the London session, and maybe during the US session, price might actually be back in within that same region on the price that I was watching out for yesterday, and we could possibly end up getting a very good buying opportunity on this one today. So do watch out for that. Remember the red SNR at the bottom, also a region where the market can come back to. But also remembering that in case the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So the next one, this is the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So this is a new entrant on our watch list. We'll be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. If you look at the market structure, you can definitely see that we're in some sort of a range. So that tells us that the best way to look for the buys is definitely down within here. So we will be waiting to see if we can get the sellers at the top of the range reacting. Can get the market coming back down within this area here. The best buys are definitely down within this region right here. But if we do get a breach of structure, and we really need to be careful on this one, because you can see that the market has attempted to break above this region to the upside before, and it hasn't. You can see that the market has done that before, and that's the reason why I'll point out again, you always need to be very patient in terms of waiting for the hold after the breach. So you can see that the market has attempted there, somewhere within this region, somewhere within here, and definitely also within here. So just be careful. The market can also do a massive probe within there before it comes back in, and you could find the market down here, but we definitely need to wait and see if we can get that hold within that region there. So watch out for that. Also remember the red SNR at the bottom. A bit of a long shot, but in case the market finds its way there, then at least we should be ready for that as well. So last but not least, for the euro pairs, we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. So this is also a new entrant on our watch list. So we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So watch out for those three areas right there. Market seems to have breached to the upside. Let's see a bit more of the story of what happens within here. In case the market maybe even attempts to break to the downside and can't, and we get the buyers, the strong buyers pushing to the upside, and we get a hold, I think there could be a very good buy somewhere within this area here, moving to the upside. But we'll definitely have to watch out for the next problem area after that, which if we do end up going up to the higher time frame, could be somewhere within this region here, which means that we do have at least a good amount of range to the upside if we break that area, at least till somewhere within there, about 43 pips or thereabout, coming up to challenge those sellers. We do have about 66, which is not too bad. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But also remember that the pullback could also end up happening, especially if the market comes to the downside and these buyers within here can't react. Then there's a possibility we could get the market coming back in either till within this region or somewhat within this area right here. So just make sure that you also do watch out for those two areas right there. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the euro pairs. So we're going to move on to the CHF pairs, and we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So we're going to start off with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday, also a currency pair, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas right here that I had pointed out. Also an illustration of what potentially to end up expecting. And if I do zoom in, you will see clearly. So we're expecting maybe the buyers to come up, then the sellers to show up, then maybe look for the sell. There was this setup that I had pointed out, which I did mention was a bit aggressive or really aggressive. Let me put it that way, because I had pointed out that maybe if the market does come down, then possibly you could try and attempt to get this trade. But you can see that the buyers went up, the sellers came down quite aggressively. There was some sort of a small hold within here. I actually did attempt this trade during the US session. But once I couldn't get the market moving to the downside, when the market started coming back up, I actually scratched the trade somewhere within this region here. And you can see that the buyers did actually end up pushing the market to the upside. So I timed another entry somewhere high up within this region here, a bit of an aggressive entry. But of course, based on what the story of price was telling us, especially from before, you can see that the market came down. I was expecting the big sellers to possibly end up reacting off that area. They did. So I got the sells from high up within that region there. And at least that trade did actually end up starting to pay off. Although this was early today morning, a bit of a choppy mess coming down. Can't see as the market is coming down, but at least the stop loss is already at break even. So we'll be waiting to see what does end up happening. There's some sort of a level that's somewhat down within this region here. So we'll be waiting to see if we can actually end up breaking that region to the downside. If we do on the pullback, I think potentially could end up adding in or scaling in a trade or two somewhere within this region here. So hopefully if we do breach to the downside, potentially maybe I could end up scaling in as we continue coming down to see how much more further the market could go. But there's definitely this region right here that could potentially end up giving us issues. So for this one, the levels are the same as what we're watching out for yesterday. There isn't much of a change. So, I mean, the story of price still does end up remaining the same. There isn't anything much to end up writing home about or possibly end up changing the levels. So we'll be waiting to see what does end up happening. A bit of a slow start, but at least if this region does end up reaching to the downside, definitely we will be coming back in to challenge this region here. So also don't jump in on the sells. I know some of you may be looking at maybe the trade that I'm in on, and you might end up getting incited to jump in on a trade. Don't jump in on the trade right now. You can see that we're more or less within a buyer's region. If the market does end up reacting, and it can easily find the market reacting to the upside because we're within a region of support. So don't let my trade incite you. Just wait and see if you can get the next best option. So either you could find the market coming back in within this region here, or if we do breach to the downside, possibly you could end up looking for a trade that calm down. But this might not really be much, considering this is a CHF pair. This is only about 9 pips. So you might even be better off, unless you're really, really good at trading, you're possibly better off maybe waiting to see if you can get the trade down here. We do take out this region to the downside. This region right here might actually give you much, much better profit potential. So watch out for that. Remember the red scenario at the top. If the market breaks above that region to the upside, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. And also remember to always stick within your risk parameters at all times and trade with a stop loss. I know that there are some of you who don't trade with stop losses, and those are bad trading habits. So just make sure that you always do trade with a stop loss no matter what. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities, and you can see the 3 regions right there that I had pointed out, also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. I was expecting price to come back in within this region here and do some sort of a probe, and it did, and the market came back in. You can see that I'd set an alert somewhere within here. Unfortunately, I just got missed out on this trade. The market just spiked in, just missed that region or that area where I had the alert to possibly end up getting in on a trade, and you can see that the market left without me, but it's okay. Today is another day. So the levels are the same. So we'll be watching out for selling opportunities within these 3 regions right here. Let's see if we can get the market hopefully bouncing off this region to the upside. It can, and you could easily find the market back in within this region, and maybe during the US session, maybe there could be another sell. Market does seem to be getting into some sort of a range. You can see that the buyers have reacted off here before. They can end up doing that again. You can see that even within this region, the market has probed even today morning, and you can see some sort of an aggressive buyer coming in and pushing the market and holding above this region. So we'll be waiting to see what does end up happening. Best sells are definitely within here. But if we do breach this region to the downside, then I think at that point in time, we could potentially end up looking for those more conservative selling opportunities. So let's wait and see which option the market does give us, but also watch out for the region at the top. In case the market finds its way there, then also be ready for that. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So this is a new entrant on our watch list. And we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one as well. So watch out for those three areas right there. So aggressive right at the top, conservative down here, semi-aggressive, conservative here. The market seems to be bouncing off these two regions right here. So you want to get your sells as close as possible within this region right here. So let's see if we can get the market coming back in within there. It can. You can see that there's a buyer's region here and the market pushed to the upside. Right now, these buyers are the ones who are holding the market. So you don't really want to be getting in on your selling opportunities where the buyers are. Your sell could easily be dead on arrival. So just make sure that you do actually end up waiting to first see what happens. But if we do breach this region to the downside, you're better off looking for the next sell somewhere within this area here. If you do get your sells coming down within here, there's a possibility you will require a lot of prayer to get that trade to work. So unless you want to turn into some sort of an intercessor today, I would suggest you possibly do end up waiting, at least for the market to either go to the upside or possibly break free of that region to the downside. So last but not least, for the CHF pairs, we do have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, but we will be looking for buying opportunities. For the sake of guys who are new to trading and how we look at the charts, make sure that you bear in mind, in as much as like we're looking for buying opportunities on the Swiss franc, you can see that on this one, it's on the left. So it's the base currency pair. So it's the basis of what we're doing. So we're going to be buying this one. The others we are selling, because by selling the base currency, we're definitely buying the counter currency pair. You can see that the CHF is to the right, and that's exactly what we should be doing based on what we have. So that's how we normally look at it. But of course, if you're new, you'll definitely get the hang of it over time. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get buys. Those are the three areas we will be watching out for. Right now, the market seems to be holding above this area. But let's see what does end up happening. You still could find that the market could come back down within this region. And of course, if that does end up happening, I think we could find another proper buy, possibly end up happening off that region. But if it doesn't, and the market continues to rally up higher, what I would best suggest is possibly wait for the market to first break free of this region to the upside. If it does on the pullback of this area, then you could attempt a buying opportunity, because you could easily end up hitting the buy here only for the market to actually end up coming back down to within here. You could easily end up incurring a loss. So just make sure that you're a bit patient on that. But at least if we do break free of this region to the upside, I guess there could be a lot of range to the upside. And you can see that the next problem area, to break this region to the upside, could be somewhere within these regions right here, or possibly even the market could come back in all the way to within that region. Now, that could possibly end up being some sort of a swing trade, but let's see what does end up happening. But of course, we do expect also, at least for us as intraday traders, if the market could even come back in and possibly come back in within this area. And I'm really hoping that it gives a deep pullback, especially considering the fact that it broke this region to the upside and never came back in. I think there's a possibility price might still come back in within that area. If it does, I think maybe some very, very good buying opportunities, and also not too obvious buys might also end up happening here, because within that area at the top, it's very obvious. Everyone can see that the market is holding above a region of support. And I can tell you for sure, there's no free money when it comes to FX. The big boys will always try to throw people off. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the market give some sort of a deep pullback before the buys do end up happening. So that's pretty much it in terms of the Swiss franc pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the next currency pairs, which are the Canadian dollar pairs. So we're going to start off with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So this is a new entrant on our watch list. We are going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. So do watch out for these three areas right here. These are the three areas that we will be having our eyes locked on. So right now the market is within a region of support. Don't look for your selling opportunities just yet. You can see that within this area, we do have some buyers who can give you issues. They've given issues before, they can't do it again. So don't assume that they can't. At least if the market does break free, come back in, we get some sort of a weak pullback coming in, that would be good. At least we could potentially end up trying to see whether we could get some sales within that region there. But right now, just give the buyers the benefit of doubt. You never know if they could react during the London session, especially if the market comes back to the upside of this area. You could easily find the market back within this region, and maybe you could find that during the US session, that's when the market does actually end up giving a proper selling opportunity. Maybe even come back up, tap somewhere within these regions here, incite a lot of people to jump in on the opposite direction, start looking for the buys before the sales happen. So make sure that you watch out for that. But remembering the red SNR at the top, that's definitely going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive selling opportunities. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list as well. We'll be trying to see whether we can get some sales on this one. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas right there. You can see that yesterday the market came down quite aggressively, but it's definitely found a region of support down within this area right here. You can see that the sellers are being held hostage. The buyers could react. You can see that the pullback is starting to happen, which is good. You can see like some sort of a small sequence of higher highs and higher lows as the market is coming up, which is good. Let's just see if they can get at least back within this region here before the sellers do decide to push the market back down once again, and hopefully they do it aggressively. So there's a possibility we could be getting back up till within here, but also watch out for that region at the top there. It's a bit of a long shot, but if you know how to read the story of price, then you will understand that price can also end up coming back in within there. So just make sure that you also have that option open. So the next one is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Can't clearly see the three areas that I have pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. I was expecting price to come back in within here. And you can see that the market came back in, got some better prices, even better than this, tapped back in. You can see the aggression of the buyers coming in, the market held. And this one gave a really good buying opportunity. Unfortunately, I missed out on this one. I think I was too focused on the others. I didn't realize this one actually gave a proper entry. And you can see that the market came up. The buyers showed up quite aggressive, but unfortunately, they just couldn't get all the way till the top within that region there. But in any case, even if you got the entry here, the market started to move to the upside. Once the market came in within this region here, that was definitely a problem area. Stop losses should already be at break even and maybe even closing some of the trade. So you can see that the market did end up turning around off that area there, coming down. Today, of course, some news events for the NZDs, which are possibly showing strength or weakness rather, coming in for the NZD. And that's the reason why we will be going the other way on this one. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. Can't say that the market has breached to the downside, but I will be waiting to see if I can get some sort of pullback. At least if the market can come back in somewhere as close as possible within here, I think there could be some very good selling opportunities as opposed to attempting sales down here. You can see that there's a region here where we do have some sort of an SNR. If I have to put a line there, you will see that by you hitting the sell somewhere within this region here, it might not really be the best of ideas. That could be a probe. This could be just the market holding within here. I could find the reaction. You can see that buyers have reacted off here before. So you're better off waiting, just being slightly patient to wait and see what does end up happening. But also watch out for the region at the top. In case the market comes back within that area, then at least you should also be ready for that. So last but not least, for the card pairs, this is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities, some selling opportunities rather. So you can see the three areas right here that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. I was expecting maybe if we did get the market going up, coming back down aggressively and a hold, maybe we could have looked for the sell. That didn't happen. There was also that region right there that I had pointed out, but also there was this area right here that I had pointed out. You could find the market coming back in within there before we look for the sells. But you can see that the pullback happened, but there was no sign of the sellers yesterday. And you can see that the market came back up within this region. The sellers really had nothing to say about it. You can see that the market has just continued to grind up slowly. So for this one for today, we'll be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So we'll be going the other way. So watch out for these three regions right here. So we have the conservative right at the top, semi-aggressive conservative region somewhere within that area there, and we do have the aggressive which is going to be somewhere within this area. So right now, in terms of looking for the buys, do not do that. You can't see that the market has come back in within a seller's region. You're not too sure how the sellers might end up reacting. So you could easily find the market might tap there and the market might come back in within this area here. I'm thinking maybe some good buys might happen off this region, especially considering the fact that we did have a breach to the upside. Bars are slowing down. Maybe also could be because there's a fight that's going on with the sellers within that particular region. But at least if they do push the market down on the retest of this region here, I think some very good buys might happen off here. So that's definitely a region of interest. The other area now could be just waiting to see if we can get the market breaking to the upside of this region. If it does, then I think we could potentially end up getting some more conservative buying opportunities. But you also need to be careful about those buys high up at the top. Always like the entries when the market does end up giving some sort of a pullback, because I know that the opposite party has been incited. You know, when it's high up there, it's very obvious. It doesn't mean that the trade is not going to work. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying you also need to be extra careful in terms of how you end up going about it, because it's also very obvious to very many people. And as we know, based on the statistics, 95% or 90 to 95% of traders do actually end up losing. So by hitting that trade and you're not very careful, you could easily end up joining the 95. So that's all I'm saying. So moving on to the last set of currency pairs, which are the Great British Pound pairs. We're going to do the same, mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So for this one, this is the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So this is a new entrant on our watch list, and we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one. So watch out for that region at the top there. There's also this region right here that seems to be some sort of an SNR, and we do have this region somewhere within there. So let's see what does end up happening. In terms of the buying opportunities, let's wait and first see if we can break this region. You can see that sellers are definitely sitting within this region here. So unless the market first breaks this area to the upside, then we get the pullback coming in. Then after that, maybe we could end up attempting that's a my aggressive conservative entry somewhere within there. But right now, let's give the sellers the benefit of doubt. Let's see how far they can end up going. Then if the market pulls back in somewhere within here, I think there definitely could be some very good buying opportunities there. And you can see that the market has turned into some sort of a range. We do factor in the market structure, and it's always good to factor in market structure. Then the best buys are definitely somewhere within this area here. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. The next Great British Pound pair is the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So for this one, we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities as well. So these are the three areas I will be watching out to see what does end up happening. The market went up yesterday quite well. Right now, you can see that there's been a bit of a clash, and that's the reason why the market is ranging within here. The buyers have stepped up into a seller's region. Can't see the fight ensuing. The sellers are doing their thing. Let's see how far they can end up going. At least if we do get the market coming back in within this region here, I will be watching out to see what does happen. I think the best buying opportunities are definitely here. After the market broke to the upside, maybe we could expect a retest somewhere within this region here. And if that buy doesn't take off from within there, then the next best area we'll be watching out for will definitely be somewhere within this area here. So just make sure that you watch out for those three areas. And of course, if it doesn't, if the buys don't happen from the red SNR, then I will be calling it quits in terms of looking for the buying opportunities on that one. So the next one is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. And you can see the three regions that I have pointed out, also an illustration of what to expect. So price came in within here. I was expecting maybe to get some sort of incitement, you know, of the buyers, especially if the market broke to the upside, came back in, and we did see a sign of a strong seller. But you can't see that there was no strong seller anywhere, and the market just held and moved sideways. Then today you can see that the market has actually gone to the upside. So for this one, we will be trying to see whether we can get buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that I will be watching out for. More or less the same three areas that we did have yesterday. It's just that we're going to be going the other way. We had the red SNR at the top, the yellow one at the top, at the bottom. So today we've switched them up. So we will be waiting to see what happens. So you can already see even on this one, we've already set an alert somewhere within here. So we're actually waiting to see if we can get the pullback. And when we're doing the analysis with the team in the morning, that's when we spotted this one, and we're expecting maybe some sort of a pullback, especially after the breach of this region to the upside, you know, some sort of a range that was happening. On the retest of that, if we do get a proper price action signal within here, then we could definitely be looking for those buying opportunities to come up with the market. And you can see that there's about 60 pips or so that's up for grabs. So let's wait and see what happens. But also remember, just like the other one, there's also a level down within here, which means that if the buyers are not interested with that price there, then we will be trying to see whether we can get that entry much lower. And of course, the red scenario is going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive buying opportunities. So last but not least, we do have the Great British Pound against Japanese yen. So this is also a currency pair we had yesterday. We were trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out, also illustrations of what to expect. Unfortunately, my expectations were not really met. So price bounced off this region to the upside. I knew that was possibly going to happen. And that's what I was expecting, maybe price to come back in within here. But you can see that the buyers within here really held, pushed up to the upside, but the sellers had really nothing to say about it. And you can see that the market just sliced through this region, came up high, and right now it seems to have broken even this region to the upside. So we will be waiting to see whether we can actually end up getting the market possibly attempting to break to the downside. If we don't get a proper hold to the downside and the market comes back up, then I guess it could be good time in terms of looking for the buying opportunities. So watch out for that. But also an area of interest is also this one. So I will be watching to see if we can also end up getting the deep pullback coming in. This area is a region of interest, considering the fact that price broke to the upside. It was a major level. It's also quite visible on the higher time frames. So maybe the big boys might also need to end up getting this price before they do actually end up coming back in and continue pushing the market up higher, just like they did. And could find that maybe once it comes back in within here, that's when even the market might actually break this region to the upside. So let's wait and see what happens. Of course, we have those two options. There's also the option at the bottom right there. We'll have to wait and see if the market does end up meeting our expectations today. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So hopefully you've taken note of everything we've discussed. So I guess we can end up moving on to the indices and the commodities. And you can see that there's no change on that front. So starting off with the NAS 100. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. You can clearly see the three regions right there that I have pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting price to go up, then possibly come back down within this area here for us to look for the buying opportunities. So the price went up. The sellers came down quite aggressively. If I do zoom in for you to see, so you can see that the market went up. The sellers came down aggressively, even came all the way back down, tapped this region, somewhere within this area right here, definitely stopping out quite a number of people within this area here. Then came back up, held within this region, and you can see that the market continued moving up. A bit of a choppy mess that was going on within there, but at least in terms of the buyers, we're expecting the market to go up. And you can see that the market did actually end up going up. So for this one, we will be waiting to see whether we can get a pullback. Of course, looking for the buys within here, you also can see that the buyers are also getting exhausted. So by you joining the buys, there's a possibility you could be joining the weaker team. So it's possibly best to end up waiting to first see if we can get a pullback. Maybe the pullback might even just come back into within this region here. But of course, the pullback is always very necessary before you actually do jump in on any trade. So either the price comes back in within that region there, definitely be watching out to see what happens, or maybe at least somewhere within here. But at least we do need some sort of incitement of the opposite party once that does end up happening. Remember, those are the guys we're going to be doing business with. So right now, let's wait and see what happens. Of course, you also can find the market spiking to the upside quite aggressively. I mean, we've also seen this times, especially being on the charts over the years. So you could easily find that within this area here, the buyers could also speed up. So they look like they're weak, then all of a sudden pick up. But remember that also taking that buy, you're also jumping into a very risky trade. It might work, it might not end up working out. So it's best to actually wait. At least if the market goes up, at least if it does pull back in, at least that trade has a higher probability of working out. So let's wait and see if we can get that option. But I'm really hoping we do actually end up getting the pullback. So also watch out for the region at the bottom. It's a bit of a long shot, but if the market finds its way there, then at least you should be ready for that as well. So the next one, this is the Dow Jones. So for this one yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Currently, we see the three regions that I had pointed out. So I was expecting the pullback to come in. maybe until here or maybe somewhere here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but the market broke to the upside. We do zoom in within this region here. You can see that the market broke to the upside and actually held above this region to the upside. The market didn't attempt to come in lower, couldn't, and continued to actually hold within this region here. And you can see that the market did actually end up taking off to the upside quite well. So this one wasn't a bad one. Of course, if you did get that trade, then shout out to you for that, and hopefully you are managing the situation quite well. But in terms of looking for other buys, right now the buys are also very obvious. And like I pointed out, there's no free money when it comes to trading. There's no free lunch. You know, the big boys will always try to throw you off. And right now, the fact that it's very obvious that the market has gone up, very many people are looking for buying opportunities on this one now. So hopefully we might end up getting a pullback coming in. And if that pullback does come in, could easily find that the market might actually end up giving a proper buy off somewhere with this region right here, or maybe somewhere within this area generally, because that move to the upside, if you were to go up a higher time frame, you will see that it's quite visible that the market has been in some sort of an upward trend. So that means that the market broke this region to the upside, and you could find that the pullback might actually end up coming back in, and the market might just come back in and maybe even tap this week or these weeks somewhere within this region right here before the buyers do actually end up showing up. So just be extra careful, but at least if we do get the pullback, that would be good. If the market breaks above here, the pullback is still necessary. So regardless, looking for the buys now, it's a bit risky. You're trying to trade like a big boy if you actually end up hitting the buy right now. So you could easily find that by you hitting the buy within this particular region right here, then it means that you're trying to break levels. And remember that the work of breaking levels is actually the work of the big boys. And that's what I'm saying. Don't really try and trade like the big boys. Let them do the heavy work of breaking levels. Let's just try and see whether we can end up getting the soft life, you know, when it comes to trading. Let them break the levels as we simply wait for the pullbacks to come in. So the next one, this is silver. So for silver, yesterday the bar was to try to see whether we could get buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. Also an illustration of what to expect. So we're expecting price to come back in, maybe come back up, and after that, maybe look for the buys. The market did that. So you can see that the market did actually end up probing all the way down to within this region, came back up, held within here. Then after that, you can see that the market did go to the upside, although you didn't need to read the detail, what happened there, maybe on a smaller time frame. But the levels are more or less the same. You can see that the story of price has not really changed. So that means that the levels are exactly the same in terms of looking for buying opportunities. Don't look for the buys now. You can see that within this region, we're expecting a reaction of the sellers, and you can definitely see that they're starting to react. So let's see how far they can end up going with that. Of course, depending on where they do end up running out of steam, and we do see signs that the big boys are showing up, then at least we could look for the buys. Hopefully the market comes back in within here, but there are also quite a number of SNRs that you also could find that maybe those potentially could be prices that the big boys could be looking out for. So watch out for those three areas, of course. If the market does break above this region to the upside, I mean, like we pointed out on the rest of the other indices and commodities, I'm sure you already get the plan of what the game plan should be. So last but not least, we do have gold. Now for gold, yesterday the bar was to try to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out, and there was also this region right here, which was a fourth level that I did also put in there. So in the morning, price was here, and I pointed out that we potentially could find the market coming back in within this area here for us to look for the buys. But even if it doesn't, at least we do need to see a hole within here, and there was a probability that price was going to tap back in within this region right here before the buyers do actually end up showing up. And you can see that the market just came back in, tapped within that region, came up, held within this area right here, and you can see that the market did actually end up taking off to the upside quite well. So this one worked out pretty well. Unfortunately, I also missed out on this one. I think I missed out by, 3 or 4 pips somewhere within this region right here. Once I saw the market come back up to the upside, because I was expecting maybe some sort of a slowdown. I knew price was going to come back in within this region here, especially when I saw the market just come back in. I was timing the entry within here, and the read, the market just turned up so fast, and so the next best entry was somewhere within here. But unfortunately, I got missed out, and the market completely left to the upside without me. But in any case, that's the nature of trading. So we don't really catch feelings because of such kind of things. Today's another day. There'll definitely be other opportunities on this one, and if not on this one, we'll definitely grab opportunities on something else because we're looking at quite a number of things. So for this one for today, we're gonna still be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. Let's see if we can get entries at least within this region or somewhere within here. The sellers have started to react. If you look at this reaction here, you can see that those are the big sellers, especially if you look at how the buyers went up slowly. The number of candles are so many, and you can see that just for the market to turn around, it's just taken 2 candles by the sellers. So that means that the sellers potentially could end up pushing the market, and we could find it coming in lower. There's a possibility we could get the market coming back in within this region here. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Maybe during the London session, we could be on the pullback phase, maybe at around 4, 5:30. Maybe we could find price backing within this region for us to get a very good buying opportunity. So let's wait and see whether we can get that happening. But also the market can break above this region. And of course, if we do get the hold, you could look for the buys, but you need to be very careful about that buying opportunity, especially considering the fact that you can see that the sellers have really turned the market around within this area quite aggressively. You could easily end up hitting buys within here, and you could easily end up in the gutter. Let me just put it that way. So just be very careful about that. But at least we should be expecting maybe some sort of a pullback to come in within here, because you can see that the market has been breaking levels, giving pullbacks and retests. Could be some sort of an upward trend. So let's wait and see if we can get the market coming back in within there. But if it doesn't, there's also this level right here that we can't end up watching out for. But I'm really hoping we do get the market coming back in somewhere as close as possible within that particular region there. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. Hopefully, guys have taken note of everything we've discussed. So let's see if there's any requests or questions on the chat box. There is none, which is perfectly fine. I guess everything is perfectly clear. But like we always say, in case anything is not clear, you can definitely watch this broadcast as many times as possible, pause, rewind, and whatever, increase the speed. You can do whatever you want with it. I know many guys used to ask about the recordings before. At least you do have that option now. So at least make good use of it. And of course, if anything doesn't make too much sense, also feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details should be there in the video description. And at least we'll see how best we can end up helping you. So with that, I think we're pretty much done. So hopefully you do have a good day on the chat and in everything else that you do end up doing. And I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. in the morning as always. So with that, happy trading and bye for now. The peeps be with you. God bless.